Folks, one of the greatest success story of the last century has been Singapore. Now, Singapore got independence 1965, and it has no natural resource, no oil, no minerals, not even land, not even drinking water. They have nothing. And when Singapore got independence, it was the drug capital of Asia. Corruption was rampant, and communal problems were by the masses. They were Chinese, Malay, Tamil, Eurasians, many others, and there were communal fighting in between. And they have no resource. They wonder how they would move on. And in fact, the world thought, or Malaysia even thought, Singapore would be a liability. Let us get them out of our land. So that is how the country was formed. But today, Singapore is one of the most successful countries in the world with the highest per capita income, become the global financial hub. Those days are gone when London, New York are not global hubs anymore. It is Singapore. Their currency is one of the strongest and most stable country in the world. Now, what brought it? And what are the highest per capita income? Folks, what brought this prosperity? One man, their great leadership. Whenever you see a country doing well, look at the leadership. And when a country is messed up, also look at the leadership. And one man did it, and that was Kuan Yew, the senior minister. What a great man. He said, I will build Singapore. And he said, I have a choice. Either build a fortune for myself, make a lot of money, or build my country. And he said, I chose to build my country. And he built the country on 5 principles. Folks, one is, he said, zero corruption. Singapore today is the second most honest country in the world, and it is pretty much almost zero corruption anywhere. I've been there. When I set up my office in Singapore, it took me 21 minutes to set up my office in Singapore. 9 minutes for telephone hookup, 11 minutes for electrical hookup, and 90 seconds for getting my driver's license. I was ready to do business in 22 minutes. Look at this. I don't know of any country where I could get this thing done. And court cases are finished within 1 year. Within 1 year. They don't drag anymore. Now, interesting, when he said zero corruption, they have lived by this. In fact, a few years ago, there was one minister found corrupt. And I asked some people, what was the charges? They said, well, there were some tickets he got for Formula One, and besides, there were some trips on a private plane from one place to the other, and that was the extent of the corruption, or whatever that happens to be. But look at this. And similarly, I've seen China has taken a very firm action against corruption. China was 86 number at one time on corruption index, and today they have become 64. And in fact, 2 or 3 years ago, there was a minister found corrupt. He was hanged publicly. But there are countries where people are found corrupt, they become bigger leaders. What a sad situation. Now, similarly, because of that corruption, there are many people who are elected representatives. I hate to use the word representative. They're not representatives, but they are elected people. And many of them have criminal records. Now, going forward, the second principle by Senior Minister Kuan Yew that brought success was, he said, one language, English as one language. Now, he respected Mandarin, Malay, Tamil, and whatever. There are multiple languages. And he said, it is richness in every language. Let them flourish. Let them do it. But for all usage for the country, it would be one language, would be English. And he did it. And that's important. There are countries who've done it like this. Even countries like Switzerland. There are 3 languages, but they don't have a problem. They don't keep fighting. So English became one language to the whole country. Number 3, he said, I will build human capital. Folks, he said, human capital is not skill development. It is character development. Folks, you find integrity literally has become a way of life. I'll share with you an example. About 25 years ago, I set up my office in Singapore, and I gave a taxi driver a business card to get me to a particular address. At the last point, he circled around the building. Meter read $11. He took 10. I said, Henry, your meter reads 11. How come you're taking 10? He said, sir, I'm a taxi driver. I'm supposed to be bringing you straight to your destination. Now, since I didn't know the last spot, I had to circle around the building. Had I brought you straight here, the meter would have read $10. Now, hear what he said after that. He said, sir, legally, I can claim 11. But ethically, I'm entitled to only 10. Taxi driver! I don't know. He must be an 8th grader. I don't know. Taxi driver. He understood the difference between legality and ethics. Many lawyers and judges need to learn from him. Look at that. And not only that, he didn't stop here. He said, sir, tourism is big in Singapore. And he said, people come into a country for only 2-3 days or 4 days. And if the first experience with a taxi driver is not pleasant, the balance 3 days is not pleasant either. He said, sir, I am not a taxi driver. I'm an ambassador of Singapore without a diplomatic passport. How do you like that? And that taxi driver I met 25, 30 years ago, I immediately hired him as my manager in my Singapore office. And when I was not there, he was driving the taxi. But he was there till a few years with me. But I have another gentleman, same thing. But then I asked him one question. I said, Henry, tell me, how come all you people are so good, clean, honest, courteous? How come? You leave a camera, it comes back to you. You give them extra money, they don't take it. He said, sir, before we get a license to operate a taxi in Singapore, it is mandatory for everybody to go through a 2 months customer service training program. And then only we get a license to operate a taxi. And he said, memories are short. Every year we have to go through refreshers. And not only that, if we don't drive a taxi for a few months, we have to go back to the same 2 months again. No wonder they perform. Folks, these taxi drivers are probably a lot better trained than many executives in companies. No wonder the country has come where it has come. And crucial part, folks, this taxi driver, 8th grader, is more precious to me than any MBA. He handles all my banking, all my enrollments, all my registrations, all arrangements in my hotel when I do my program. What else am I looking for? He takes care of all my stocks. He sells my books, takes care of everything. You know what? This is what the whole country's culture has changed by one person, Senior Minister Kuan Yew. And then the 4th principle that Kuan Yew, I hate to use the word Kuan Yew, it is always out of respect, Mr. Kuan Yew, he said, merit will be the criteria in Singapore. There is no reservation on communal grounds or caste grounds or this or that. None of those. He said, merit will be the criteria. I don't want to divide my country on communal grounds, caste grounds, whatever that happens to be, or language grounds, nothing. Merit would be the criteria. No wonder that country is moving at the pace that they are. And lastly, he said, I will incentivize talent and investment. And today, Singapore has become the hub of talent. All over the world, talent is running into Singapore, or from everywhere. And greatest amount of investments are coming into Singapore, a place which is only a small little island there, small island. They don't even have land. In fact, a lot of land is reclaimed. They have no land. And investments from everywhere in the world are coming right there. Folks, is it a coincidence that Singapore has come to this level? Answer is no. It was the farsightedness and the vision of one man. And let me clarify most important thing on corruption part. This came out in the newspaper, and I have reproduced this in one of my books, You Can Achieve More. Folks, when Marcos died, who was the president of Philippines, he was convicted for embezzlement for many, many $billion dollars. And he was exiled. And then when Marcos passed away, he was brought back home and given the honor of a state burial. And Mr. Lee Kuan Yew at that time made a statement. He said, I can't understand the psyche of citizens. When a person who has been convicted of corruption, who has literally stolen things from the country, looted his own country, and he is given the honor of a state burial, he said, there is something wrong with the character of those people. What a message by Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. This is what tells you the psyche. And there are countries where people are found corrupt, they die, they're given state burials, they're given honors. You know something, why I bring this up? When Ratan Tata passed away, the whole country mourned. In fact, people, taxi drivers, three-wheelers, hawker stalls, they all felt we've lost a guardian. Everybody's faces were hanging at that time. A country has lost a diamond. He was the true diamond of the country. You see, prime ministers, presidents come and people say who are corrupt, and people say, I wish he had died 20 years earlier. And they give them honor of state burials. What a joke. Look at this. Do you need an MBA to fill out a project report and say why a country is moving forward and why a country is not moving forward? It is evident, so evident. Folks, all I can say is, in many countries, globally today, there's a dearth of good leadership. I repeat, there's a dearth of good leadership. And when Lee Kuan Yew passed away, I would very clearly say, world became a little poorer. World became a little poorer. But you see, when a corrupt person dies, people say, I wish he had died 20 years ago. This rascal. Folks, all I can say is, winners make the days count, losers count the days.